There are young men and young women that will do anything to have the chief seat, and after they're sitting in it, they would do nothing but cause mildew to gather around it. My Lord, my Lord. In the real world, we see in Mark chapter 9, verse 33 through 35, that there is a struggle with position and authority, and Jesus relieves the tension. He relieves the tension and says, if you want to be first, get in the back and get to work, and I will elevate you when I'm ready to elevate you. And that's what makes it his church and not a fight on the deacon or the deaconess board. Yes. Listen, we do have position as people, yet we must realize that we are yet under the master's authority. You can have position in biblical leadership, but you are under the authority of Jesus Christ, not necessarily the authority of the pastor. Did you know that my deacons know what they're supposed to do as deacons, because they're supposed to be Bible trained also? So therefore, I'm not checking up on my deacons because I know that they're into the book. They have, as a matter of fact, authority, and they hold this preacher in check. So therefore, the true biblical deacon and deaconess holds the pastoral staff in check, and the pastoral staff does not have a right to do whatever they want to do. True spiritual leadership means that you judge and weigh everything the Bible way, and if the pastor is a true biblical man, he wants true spiritual leadership to do that, because he's saying, check me out and I'll check you out. So therefore, there ain't no conflict amongst the two, but rather a getting along together, because both groups are growing up in him. That's all he calls this thing to do. Ooh, I'm loving this, and I haven't preached it yet. This is good. Point number 2. Man, my goodness, y'all at Calvary are speeding me up tonight. Because those leaders, that is deacons and deaconesses of the Lord, have been called into a vital relationship with the entire congregation. The deacons and the deaconesses that you celebrate today have been called into a vital relationship with the entire congregation. They're just not a board of women and men meeting and drinking coffee, separated from you, but they have an integral part with you. They associate with you, and it is for your benefit. Now, let's go into this. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 13. This integral part. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 13. For it says, and of course we're talking about pastoral leadership, but what I'd like to do is take some of these verses and mix in the leadership of the deacons and deaconesses, because I believe that we're all under the same spiritual mandate in the Bible. For it says, and that you esteem them very highly in love because of their work. Live in peace with one another. How ought we to esteem our deacons and deaconesses? Highly. Highly. Let me say, for some of you at Olivet, you might ask, why would I ask dear Sister Frost to bring a selection before I preach? You don't usually do it at Olivet. I says, because Sister Frost is very well acquainted. Thank you, my brother. She is very well acquainted with a church like Calvary. She ministers tremendously to a church like Calvary. I am acquainted with Sister Frost. She does that well. That's her gift. And you see, some of you don't have that gift, and so I said, my dear, please minister before I preach. You see, I may be a preacher of a young church, but I know where I go and what I'm supposed to do. And so when you have spiritual leadership, you respect that spiritual leadership. Did you know that sometimes you can get a young church, and the young church try to come out, oh man, we tired of that. Hey, listen, you better wake up. Before you got born, God was doing some stuff. And he's going to continue to do it to after you gone. You see, and I understand that. But you see, when you're in spiritual leadership, that's one-sided, one mode. And listen, let me tell you something. Without a senior citizen, there would never be a junior one. Now, you chew on that a little bit. You chew on that. See, all these young churches you got going around. Y'all, we got a young church. We doing away with these old folks. You wouldn't have, listen, you can look at this. You know young folk didn't build this. All them beautiful windows over there, I don't think no young folk put no money in this kind of stained glass. You can talk your trash all, this look like old money to me. That's old money. This is old money here. See all this young money? Oh no, this young money, they want to bring in a new synthesizer. You know, that's all they want. You want to know, hey, old money was playing that piano over there. I was talking with my pastor and I said, that's the way you tickle some keys before the preacher preaches. But see, we don't understand. Well, hey, telling you here, spiritual leadership. Them very highly in love for their work. You look at spiritual leadership and you accommodate them, you lift them up. Don't be tearing down Forbes because he's getting old. Hey man, look, the way they tell me, the older you get, the better you get. I mean, I saw Williams point at him. Don't be looking at Williams because he's, hey, listen, his wife is with the Lord. The man's still good. You don't set him down. You esteem spiritual leadership. I see Cliff Mourning sitting back. Oh, no, you can't look away. I see Cliff sitting back there. Long-time deacon in Olivet. He's still of some value. You don't cast him out. Yeah, right. You hate. Look, the Bible tells me what to do with spiritual leadership, and all I'm going to do is do it. All right. So therefore, the text implies in 1 Thessalonians that a love for the leader of the church, along with the sense of peacefulness as the ministering continues. In other words, I love the leaders of the church, and he's ministering, and there's a peace between them and I. I'm not on the board, so I'm going to act like a board. What kind of a board? A whipping board. You may be whipping against God. I remember when Gamaliel stood up in the New Testament. And he said, brethren, do not so quickly with these men speaking on the temple steps, because we may be fighting against God, and if we fighting against God, we ain't gonna win. Now, if you ain't got an accusation against the deacon or the deaconess, why don't you just shut up and just go ahead and do what they tell you to do? And if it's biblical, what you're fighting for? See, you may be fighting against God. And I just want to share this with you, Calvary and Olivet. Spiritual leadership knows exactly what they, as a matter of fact, if Reverend Matoya is the man that I think he is, like I am, I meet occasionally with my chairperson in private, and we discuss a lot of everything that has to do with the maneuverings of Olivet. See, James and I just don't shake hands on Sunday. Most of the time on Sunday, we both so busy we don't even see each other. But it is during the week when you at work that we at work, working for the church. And let me share this with you. He got his arm out, so you need to pray, just like you need to pray for Chairman Forbes. I'm going to tell you, being chairman of a board is no cakewalk. And that's why very rarely do you don't see no young men being no chairman. Because if a young man is a chairman, he's just too stuck on himself. See, if you chairman, you got to be wise enough to look around and know how the world works. And then as God works through you, you got to know it ain't never been that way. And y'all know I'm telling the truth because I'm not as old as those guys, and so, hey, I got to listen to somebody. Colossians chapter 3, verse 14. Go there with me. We're still talking about because those leaders of the Lord have been called into a vital relationship with the entire congregation. Colossians chapter 3, verse 14. We're celebrating spiritual leadership. And beyond all these things, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity.